Have you ever pondered the ripple effects of a single day on the course of human history? What if that day is September 11th, 2001? Imagine a day that begins like any other, but in the blink of an eye, transforms into a moment in time that shakes the very foundations of our collective consciousness. A day so impactful, it reverberates through the annals of history, altering the course of nations and the lives of millions. Yes, we're talking about September 11th, 2001. A day marked by shock, confusion, and profound sorrow. A day that, in its wake, left a world grappling with a new reality. The world witnessed the unthinkable, as two of America's most iconic structures collapsed not due to a natural disaster, but a meticulously planned act of terror. The impact was not just felt in the immediate vicinity of the attacks, but echoed around the globe. It was more than just the loss of thousands of innocent lives. It was the loss of a sense of security, the shattering of a belief that such acts of terror could not touch us in our homes, in our cities. But as we delve deeper into this event, we must remember that the narrative of that day is not just one of loss and devastation. It's also a story of resilience, unity, and the indomitable human spirit that emerged from the ashes. The events of September 11th set in motion a chain of actions and reactions that continue to shape our world today. So, as we embark on this journey of exploration, we invite you to reflect, to question, and most importantly, to remember. For it is through understanding our past that we can hope to navigate our future. Let's venture back in time, to the dawn of a day that would forever change the world. It was a typical Tuesday morning until it was not. The day began like any other, with the hustle and bustle of New York City and Washington D.C., air filled with the promise of a new day. Little did we know the dawn of September 11th, 2001, was the dawn of a dark day in history. 4 commercial airplanes, all on their routine morning flights, were turned into weapons of mass destruction by 19 hijackers. The first inkling of this horrific plot came to light when American Airlines Flight 11, en route from Boston to Los Angeles, was hijacked. At approximately 8:46 in the morning, it crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center, turning the iconic skyscraper into a towering inferno. As the world watched in disbelief, thinking it was a terrible accident, a second plane, United Airlines Flight 175, also flying from Boston to Los Angeles, was hijacked. It struck the South Tower of the World Trade Center at approximately 9:03, shattering any illusions of an accident and confirming our worst fears. America was under attack. Meanwhile, American Airlines Flight 77, traveling from Washington D.C. to Los Angeles, was also hijacked. It crashed into the Pentagon, the symbol of American military power, at around 9:37, causing a massive explosion and the collapse of a section of the building. Lastly, United Airlines Flight 93, flying from Newark to San Francisco, was overtaken by hijackers intending to direct it towards a target in Washington, D.C. However, the heroic passengers on board fought back, and the plane crashed into a field in Pennsylvania, never reaching its intended target. These were not just attacks on buildings or a nation. They were attacks on humanity itself, on our collective sense of security and peace. In a span of a few hours, the world stood still, watching the horror unfold. In the aftermath of the devastation, the world held its breath. A veil of shock and disbelief had descended, and as the reality of the situation began to sink in, the gears of response were set in motion with a sense of urgency that was palpable. Emergency services sprang into action, displaying unparalleled courage and resilience. Firefighters, police officers, medical professionals, and countless volunteers navigated through the labyrinth of debris and chaos in a desperate and heroic attempt to rescue survivors. Every second counted, every life mattered, and amid the palpable fear and uncertainty, the collective spirit of humanity shone through. Simultaneously, an unprecedented mandate was issued. For the first time in history, all flights over U.S. airspace were grounded. The skies fell silent as the nation grappled with the enormity of the situation. Airports became ghost towns, the usual hustle and bustle replaced by an eerie calm. This decision, though drastic, was a necessary measure to ensure the safety of the nation and prevent any further attacks. Meanwhile, the government was in a state of high alert. The president, the administration, and security agencies were thrust into a melee of critical decision-making. The corridors of power echoed with discussions, debates, and decisions as the leaders of the free world grappled with a crisis of unimaginable proportions. The public reaction was a mix of shock, fear, and defiance. People huddled around television screens, radios, and computers, hungry for updates, seeking solace in shared experiences. Communities came together offering support, comfort, and strength to each other. The unity displayed was a silver lining in an otherwise dark cloud, a testament to the indomitable spirit of the American people. And so, in those initial hours and days, the nation responded with resolve and resilience. There was fear, yes, but there was also determination. A determination to rescue, to recover, to rebuild, and to retaliate. As the dust began to settle, it was clear that this was an attack unlike any other. The magnitude of the tragedy was immense, the implications far-reaching. But in the face of adversity, the nation stood united, ready to navigate the challenging road ahead. The days following the attacks were marked by grief, anger, and a thirst for answers. A pall of smoke and dust hung over the nation, and in the heart of every American, an urgent question throbbed. Who was responsible for this heinous act? In the ensuing days, a meticulous and extensive investigation was launched. It was an endeavor that spanned continents and pulled in resources from every corner of the globe. The grim task of identifying the attackers began. 19 names emerged from the shadows, men who had lived among the very people they sought to destroy. The realization was chilling and led to a profound sense of betrayal. As the identities of the attackers were uncovered, the enormity of the task that lay ahead became clear. This was not a conventional enemy bound by borders or a uniform. This was an elusive, shadowy foe, woven into the fabric of everyday life, hiding in plain sight. In a historic address, the U.S. government declared a war on terror. This was a commitment to hunt down those responsible for the attacks and to ensure that such an atrocity would never be repeated. The decision was bold, and it was divisive. Some hailed it as a necessary response to an unprecedented threat. Others warned of the dangers of such an open-ended commitment, fearing the potential for an erosion of civil liberties and a never-ending cycle of violence. The days following the attacks were not just about sorrow and loss, they were also about resilience and resolve. It was a time of unity, a time when the nation came together to mourn, to remember, and to look forward. It was a time when the world watched and waited with bated breath to see how the land of the free would respond to its darkest day. The world was on the edge, bracing itself for a new era of conflict and change. Nearly 2 decades have passed, but the echoes of that fateful day still reverberate. The far-reaching tendrils of that day stretch out, touching the lives of countless individuals and shaping the course of nations. The 9/11 attacks were a turning point. A moment in time that forever altered the path of United States foreign and domestic policy. In the years following the attacks, the United States embarked on what came to be known as the War on Terror. This was a global campaign, the impact of which is still felt in nations around the world. It led to military interventions in Afghanistan and Iraq, and set the stage for a new era of international relations, one defined by a relentless pursuit of those who would threaten peace and security. On the home front, domestic policy underwent a transformation as well. New laws were enacted, bolstering security measures and expanding the powers of law enforcement. The creation of the Department of Homeland Security and the implementation of the USA Patriot Act are but 2 examples of the sweeping changes that took place. These measures were met with both praise and criticism, sparking debates about the balance between security and individual freedoms. But perhaps the most profound impact has been on the survivors and the families of the victims. Their lives were irrevocably changed in a matter of hours. The echoes of that day continue to reverberate in their lives, a constant reminder of the tragedy that unfolded. They carry with them the memories of their loved ones, and in doing so they ensure that the legacy of that day is never forgotten. The impacts of 9/11 stretch far beyond the immediate aftermath. They are woven into the fabric of our society, shaping our worldview, our policies, and our individual lives. In the end, we are left with a solemn reminder of the indelible mark that a single day can leave on the annals of human history.